We're back with the balance breakdown. Ian O'Neill, Harry Powell, here to break down Cage Warriors Newcastle this past weekend. Cage Warriors 172, I should say, which happened in the Toon. And what an action-packed card it was as well. As always, my guy Harry Powell is here. I want to extend a congratulations to him for competing again and taking home gold in another tournament. This man is on fire. This man is on fire. So he is. He's on a roll right now, building towards something beautiful. So all the credit in the world to you. I know lots of hurdles to get over, Harry, but job done. You're up north yourself the weekend. You're up north yourself. All action up north in the north of England this weekend, eh?
I was indeed. Yeah, I was in Manchester for the day. I appreciate you. Thank you. Ian and I, just to break the third wall as we always do, we were just having a conversation about competition and the mindset behind competition, and we said that we'll sit down and record an episode, as it's something that I've struggled with massively over the last little while and still struggle with massively. But sure, we went, and it was a comp to sort of get on a regional invitational show that's here in the UK, and I had 5 matches. It was supposed to be 6 matches, but unfortunately, one of the competitors got injured, and so he was unable to continue, which is obviously a shame. But yeah, we managed to pick up 5 wins out of 5 matches and 4 submissions. So yeah, lots and lots of things to work on as always. But yeah, relatively happy with the outcome. Relatively happy.
Proud of you, brother. Onwards and upwards. And yeah, that's definitely what it is for Harry Hardwick as well, who fought in the main event of the Cage Warriors Newcastle card, became the featherweight champion with a knockout of Orlando Prince in round 2. And also, my God, if his weekend couldn't have got any better, was also a part of the Severe Spotlight this week as well over on SevereMMA.com. As Harry laughs. He didn't know what was coming there, did you? But yeah, it's all on the up and up for Harry Hardwick as well. Topped off a fantastic card, it must be said. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to run through it from top to tail over the next 30 minutes or so, taking you through all the action, a little bit of Irish interest as well, obviously with Leon Hill, Jordan O'Neill picking up wins on the card. Let's get into it, Harry. The main event itself. Look at before, this was a chance for Harry Hardwick to join his brother and become a Cage Warriors champion in the featherweight division. Had a winnable fight, but a tricky fight, and it did kind of play out that way a little bit. I mean, Orlando Prince was dangerous, I think, throughout the fight. I think it was the forward pressure and the body work of Harry Hardwick that finally did kind of break him down before the finish came, but he put up a valiant effort. And, you're never going to get an easy fight in a Cage Warriors world title fight, really, if you're being honest. You always know that you're going to face a certain test. Harry Hardwick did face that test. He faced it and passed it with flying colours, really. I was massively impressed. I'm sure you are as well, obviously, with him being the Severe Spotlight this week. Talk me through his performance and some of the highlights for you, Harry.
Yeah, so I think for me, the most impressive element of any short notice replacement is the way that you adjust to that short notice replacement, right? And there's a lot of pressure on Harry Hardwick coming in here. One, he is the main event. That's regardless of where it is, what it's for, the main event is a big deal on any card, right? He is fighting almost in his hometown for the first time in, I think he said 5 years. So that's a significant portion of his professional career that he's not been representing his hometown to see his home fans, etc., right? So a big moment for him to bring Cage Warriors back to roughly his hometown and allow his fans to travel to see him in the shortest distance possible, right? Add on top of that the Cage Warriors world title. We know what that means. We know what that can sort of do for a fighter, the doors that can open for a fighter. Add on top of that his brother is already a Cage Warriors fighter, and whether he will admit it or whether people want to believe it or not, there is pressure there, right? Those two are training partners. They are obviously very close in their familial relationship, but if one brother has a title and the other brother gets an opportunity at a title, you best believe that brother wants to win that title to make sure that his other brother doesn't have one over him, right? And so he came in, and I thought it was a nervy start from him, right? The first 30 seconds came in, tried to adopt a quite an erratic game plan, sort of left himself defensively open just a little bit. And Prince did a great job at capitalizing. He hurt Harry Hardwick a little bit. There was a bit of wobble, right? And then Hardwick calmed himself down, pushed Prince back towards the edge of the cage. And then we just got to see vintage Hardwick brothers, what we've come to be used to. Knees up close, really lovely body work, switching stances, feinting, being comfortable in all areas, and then precision and calmness when it came to actually finishing their opponent. I thought that Harry didn't rush the finish at all. When he did have his man hurt, he made sure that he gave him lots of dilemmas so that there wasn't anything that was going to be super demonstrably dangerous coming back to him. I do think we have to credit Orlando Prince here to take the beating that he took for that last minute and a half, make it through that first round and then come out in the second and try to make the adjustments that he did. Massive, massive credit from me. But over and back, what we just saw was that Harry Hardwick was just a level or two levels above Prince. And I actually think this was a tougher fight than his original opponent. But for me, Harry Hardwick shone in that there was so much pressure. And to start poorly, whether that little storm that he created for himself, calm himself down, get back to a game plan and win like he did, fantastic.
The crowd was absolutely electric heading into this fight as well. It was like, geez, watching this, like you could feel the energy coming out through the television, and that can have an effect on you as a fighter as well. When you're kind of, you could have that adrenaline dump in there, and maybe it was down to the slow. Maybe that was a little bit down to the slow start of Harry Hardwick, but when he started settling in, like if I was to pinpoint anything that he was doing, it was wearing Prince down with those body shots were absolutely excellent. Whether it was up close with the knees through the middle or simply those hooks to the body, they were unbelievable. The shot placement, the timing of them, and he just kind of swarmed and drowned Prince eventually. And I have to give Prince unbelievable credit as well. I think he kept Harry Hardwick as honest as he could throughout the duration of the fight. But ultimately, a learning curve for a guy like Orlando Prince as well. 8 fights in now, I guess, including this one, having that world title experience under his belt. He's a guy that, he gets a couple of things right. He could be right back up there again in another couple of fights as well. But it's onwards and upwards for Harry Hardwick right now. We normally in the breakdown kind of give, who we'd like to see or what we'd like to see next for fighters, but it's a little bit more difficult in Cage Warriors, I think, because, there's, low rankings, number one, and, there's no real there's a couple of fighters that has to be said in the featherweight division. Obviously, we have Jordan Vucenic and stuff like that, but we don't know whether Jordan Vucenic is going to be looking to try and claim a title again. But if we're talking about what's next for Harry Hardwick, what would you like to see? Do you think a title defense is warranted? Do you think we may see him call up to Dana White's Contender Series, or maybe a straight call up to the UFC perhaps in the coming months as well? What do you think would be the best scenario for Hardwick after this big win?
Personally, I'd like to see him defend the title one or two times. I think there is just a little bit of seasoning that Harry Hardwick needs. I was impressive. I wasn't impressive.
You were impressive this weekend. You're thinking about yourself.
Not the same. I was very impressed with Hardwick's ability to reset, as we talked about, and to weather storms and to adjust as he did. And I was equally impressed with his ability to stop the takedown and his work on the ground and all that sort of stuff. But I would like to see him fight just slightly better competition than Prince. I would like to see him tested just a little bit more, and then we can start talking about the UFC. Like, I think if you put him in the UFC right now, what's going to happen is going to be very, very similar to what happened with Harry Hardwick, and he won't be matched kindly. He'll be matched in such a way that the UFC is looking to absolutely make sure that they are getting what they want from these fighters. But yeah, I think the UFC is probably in his future, whether that's Contender Series or otherwise, but I would just like to see him take a little bit longer if he could.
I agree, and there's no harm in kind of sitting down, defending that title, getting that championship experience as well. I think it would do someone like Harry Hardwick very well as well. I do agree with you there. Moving on to the co-main event, James Power, Daniel Kolasinski. These boys just straight up went to war, Harry. Like straight up went to war. Power came out firing, got caught a little bit of a scare early, and I thought he was going to be done, to tell you the truth, and he was almost. Another time, and another ref might have stepped in there on a couple of occasions, but all credit to, I can't remember who was reffing, and see if I can kind of bring it up here, but I don't know who the ref was. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but credit to the ref, let the fight go, went into round two. These boys just said stringing round one up there with one of the rounds of the year for action, entertainment, and forward move and attack. It was 10 seconds to go in at the end of round two, where James Power finally won that battle of wills and got Kolasinski out of there. That was a savage fight, a savage performance from James Power as well. Unbelievable stuff.
Incredible. I mean, he just reminds me of like a mixture of Jordan Burlinson and Luke Gittins, where you
Justin Burlinson.
Justin Burlinson. Yep. You just have to kill him. Like you have to put him dead. If you don't put him dead, he's just going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And one thing that I just, there is something that is so smart, right, about a fighter who is hurt and can react the way that somebody in the way that James Power did. So he gets dropped, he turtles up, he falls himself back to guard, and usually you will see fighters try and hold on to their opponent to try to give themselves some breathing room. He focused on squaring his hips up, getting to an angle, making sure his partner didn't have like really, really, really good top position on him, and then worked himself back up, reset quite nicely, developed himself, calmed himself, and then progressed exactly as he did. And he beat the shit out of his opponent for that last sort of 2 minutes, minute and a half. And when we got to the end of the round, you saw his opponent walk back to his corner, and his corner came in, and he looked at his corner like,
what's going on here? Yeah.
We didn't sign up for this. Like, this is not what we signed up for, lads. Like, what the fuck is going on here? And Jesus, I mean, what I will say is James Power can't fight like that every fight, because if he does, he's going to get hurt badly. But
I almost thought, and I know that you gave him a little bit of credit for how he recovered, I almost thought he was rushing it a little bit too much, where he could have, I thought, if you could have been on the defensive a little bit more. But look at it, like it's hard to criticize in the way the fight materialized, but you might be in there on another day and you might walk onto another one, and you can recover once, you might not be able to recover twice. And that's something that James Power is going to have to get used to now, because the competition is going to start getting better and better at 155 as well. And there's another lightweight that picked up a win as well that made set up a clash between two fighters we'll talk about maybe in a few minutes as well, that he might not have the same success if it happened against any other fighters as well. But look, at all in all, you have to give him credit. Just absolutely beat the shit out of you. I think you described it. Beat the shit out of Kolasinski, and fair play to Kolasinski as well. Fought as hard as he could against an animal like James Power. But very, very exciting to see the future for James Power. He doesn't have a nickname, does he? He should. His nickname
Max.
Should be What? He
Max.
shouldn't. James Max
Power? Is that not
is it? No, I don't see anything here on
okay,
Tapology.
Fair enough.
But his nickname should be I Got the. That's what it should be.
That's true. But I saw on Twitter people calling for him versus Harry Hardwick. Don't do that. Harry Hardwick will destroy James Power right now.
Yeah, but the two of them are at different weight classes.
Harry Hardwick 155, no?
145.
Oh, sorry, George Hardwick. Sorry,
George Hardwick. Sorry. It's forgivable. It's late. It's late in London town tonight. Yeah, that's all good.
Let's not do George Hardwick versus James Power right now.
No. I think you'd be hoping for a couple of more fights for James Power before that fight materializes. Moving on to Kennedy Freeman against Giselle Labagno. I think this was a big learning fight for Kennedy Freeman. I think Giselle Labagno was a potential banana skin. She didn't make it easy for Kennedy Freeman in terms of closing the distance, getting the fight up against the cage, which was a smart game plan for her, but she wasn't really getting off too much attack. And, Kennedy Freeman was still winning those exchanges. But what I was really impressed with now, even though, there probably was a slight bit of frustration, the frustration didn't overly affect her performance in terms of getting loose, making mistakes. I thought she was patient enough, and the finish came when the finish came, and it was there. And I'm glad that she got it, and it was an impressive win all in all. Against, look at Giselle Labanio, 2-2 right now, but she was a difficult test for Kennedy Freeman, and the test that you need when you're a 5 or 4-0 fighter, where you learn a few things about yourself, you learn how to deal with fighters like that as well. Obviously, someone with the power of Kennedy Freeman, she's going to have to be dealing with people wanting to take her down, goodo. So this was a good kind of litmus test for her, and I think she passed it as well.
Yeah, so it wasn't a great fight, right?
No.
In that first round, Freeman wasn't able to get her back off the fence for long periods of that round. And I completely agree with you. This is going to be something that is going to happen to her. It was obvious from the opening moments that she was far, far, far superior in terms of the striking in and of itself when it was out in the open cage. When she was able to turn her opponent and she was the one on the cage, she looked good. She was landing knees, she was landing short elbows, uppercuts in that clinch. It was nice. And then the third round, obviously, Libiano had started to get tired and had started to slow down a little, and the wrestling was a little bit less effective. And then we got to see the cage exchanges in the middle. And yeah, Freeman's got some serious power for that weight class. And you don't see ladies hit quite like that very often. When you see it, it's usually an accumulation of damage, TKOs, exposing the back, getting chokes, these sorts of things. But Freeman just knocked her dead, like absolutely knocked her dead. And so that is a superpower at that weight class. And you're right that this is an important test for her. There'll be far stiffer tests. There'll be tests where she isn't able to stop the takedown, and we're going to have to see whether she can get back up and how quickly she can get back up and what her jiu-jitsu is like on the ground and all these sorts of things. But now we should just revel in the fact that Cage Warriors have got someone that they can build around, and they have someone that they can start to market in that weight class.
100%. Yeah, very well said. Exciting times for Kennedy Freeman. Marching away. I don't know. They should be looking to try and develop a pathway to a title for her.
Definitely.
She definitely has that potential. So good. Look, I say, look, not them, like you said. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this fight wasn't that exciting, but I would still label it a good performance because she got through a couple of hurdles in there and got the finish as well. Moving on, Leon Hill took out Tommy Hawthorne round 2 by rear naked choke. An excellent win, in my opinion, because Tommy Hawthorne is no joke, a serious prospect. I spoke about this yesterday with the boys on the Owl Triangle, which will be out tomorrow. And I basically kind of cited excellent game plan in round 1 to stay on the outside, away from the dangerous, hooks and punches of Tommy Hawthorne. Control the distance. Leon Hill did very well, and frustrated Tommy Hawthorne in certain regards. And that frustration kind of led into round 2, where we saw, a more implementation of a great game plan, and excellent corner work, I have to say, as well, from Chris Fields to kind of implore Leon to kind of push that pace and kind of break and force those mistakes from Tommy Hawthorne, which led to the finish. Talk me through the performance and what you thought of Leon Hill. I was massively impressed here. A big fight for him coming off of a loss, and I know this would have meant a hell of a lot to him.
First thing is, he is absolutely ginormous for that weight class, isn't he?
Massive.
He is absolutely massive. Tommy Hawthorne is not a small man, and Leon Hill looked like a fucking unit in there.
He did.
That is obviously a big thing, right? That's a big help. But I was really impressed immediately.
Yeah, if you're talking about that for a second, I mean, I spoke with him on the Owl Triangle about that, and it was actually his girlfriend that he's with right now is actually now doing his strength and conditioning and nutrition. So looked in ridiculous shape coming into this fight, and obviously got back up to his desired weight in cage weight very healthily as well, because it didn't look like it affected him. Looked in the shape of his life going into this fight, and it definitely showed in there. Please, sorry, continue.
Absolutely. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out over the next sort of 3 to 5 fights for him. Because if he's got someone that's in his corner that's working with him like that and paying as close attention as somebody like a partner will do, yeah, the sky's the limit for that sort of element of his game, right? I I was really impressed with his range management. I was really impressed with the deep to the body. I was impressed with the jabs. I was impressed with the footwork on the outside. Now, sure, he's not going to be happy with getting taken down, right? That's obviously something he's going to want to work on, but it was a really beautifully timed lat drop. And sometimes in MMA, these things happen, but he kept himself really safe on the ground. He did well from there. And what then happened that I was really impressed with, the thing that impressed me the most actually, is, as you've already mentioned, he's coming off a loss here, right? So when you get taken down in the first round, after having some good moments, you can question what happens if he shoots again. Am I going to be able to stuff it? Am I going to be able to, what's my reaction? What's this? What's that? Well, Tommy Hawthorne tried the same takedown 2 more times. The first time, Leon angled off really nicely. The third time, Leon said, yeah, Gran, that's fine. I'm just going to drop you into mount here, and the fight's done. And it felt like as soon as Leon dropped immediately into mount that the fight was done. He landed some really vicious ground and pound, some ferocious strikes from the top. Tommy obviously had to give his back, otherwise he was never going to be getting out of that position. And as soon as he gave his back, Leon cycled really quickly through a back sequence that Tom King would have been very, very happy with back at Team KF, sunk in the choke, and Tommy knew that he was done. He knew that it was done very, very quickly.
I think, with all due respect to Tommy Hawthorne as well, that fight was done before that even happened, to be honest. You could see the change in his body language. You could see the forward pressure and the success that Leon was having everywhere. He was having success at distance in round 1, but then also having success in the clinch. His elbows off the clinch were savage. He's just showcasing a very well-rounded set of abilities now, and this win will give him the height of confidence. And we mentioned James Power before. It's about damn time we put those 2 lads in together and see what happens. That would be mayhem encapsulated in however long that fight went.
I don't like that right now. For Leon Hill, I don't like that right now.
You don't like that right now? I don't like that right now for James Power, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't think it's good. It's a good fight for either of them. I think for James, he needs somebody that he needs either the same level or a slight step back, just to prove that he can do it without having to go out and just put his jaw on the line. And I think for Leon, that's a potential title contender in the future. So let's make sure that we can give him the right tests at the right time. For Leon now, I'd like to see a veteran test rather than anything else, somebody that will go out and really push him. Because James Power, you're going to want to build him as well. Let's not do it now, right? You might want to do that for
Cage Warriors has a tendency to do those kind of fights, don't they? You could do that fight next. You could do a veteran test, or you could try and maybe get Leon that fight with James Power, maybe a title shot, see how he does the title shot, and then give him a veteran test after that. But look it's an exciting division. It's a stacked division. It'll be interesting to see what they do next. I know a lot of people are like these Leon Hill and James Power. I think they're on a course one way or another in that lightweight division, and I would be excited to see that going down. Any final thoughts on this one, Harry, before we move on?
Just really impressive, just really, really impressive. And you have to be happy with guys like this that go away, take a loss, come back, and actually have improved dramatically. Like that's a big thing in MMA, a big thing in MMA, and it means that fighter has taken the loss properly. They've realized that there's holes to be fixed, and they've gone and tried to fix them.
Yeah, and the level of focus, like I was lucky enough to speak with Leon on the Out Triangle, like I said, and sometimes with some interviews, you just, without not being there in person, you can still kind of get that energy off him, and he was just portraying some like a serious, focused energy, and I was very excited because of that to go in and see what he did, and I think it's a win against Tommy Hawthorne that's going to age a hell of a lot better than what it may seem right now, and that's why I really was kind of going above and beyond to say how impressed I was with Leon, because I can tell you this for nothing, Tommy Hawthorne is no joke, and he's going to pick up a lot of wins inside Cage Warriors. So Yeah, fair play to Leon, Team KF, all the lads over there as well. Good win, onwards and upwards for them. Excited to see what's next. Chase and Blair went out there, and what an armbar! I was the minute I saw this, I was like, I can't wait to talk to Harry Powell about this because he's going to break it down excellently. But lightning quick took out Arthur Lesions in round one, I should say. I was going to say round two. 2 minutes into round one is where he just absolutely rapid fire locked on that armbar and was over instantly. Talk us through the performance and the finish. Talking about 155 and how stacked it is. Jason Blair is another guy that we got to be looking out for here in the lightweight division. Serious prospect with serious wrestling credentials. And we saw them all on show there on Saturday night.
We did indeed. I think for Jason Blair, the hands are obviously a big problem. Big problem. Stepped into range against Lanus way too quickly, way too brazenly. Gets clipped, hurt a little, not hugely, but hurt a little. Didn't want to be there. Immediately drops on a double, lifts his man for some airtime. Blair airline, slams him into the ground. Immediately passes to side control, forces his way to mount. And when it was mount, you knew it was done. Like, you just knew it was done. The control that he had over his opponent's hips just to begin with in the mount was fantastic. And Lanus was left with almost no option but to try to bridge his man off him and either give his back or force some exposure. And Blair just hit your 101 armbar from the mount, right? So he already had a high mount. Both of his knees were relatively close to either his partner's hips or just underneath the armpits. As he was bridged off, his partner's going to bridge him to one side, right? So as he reaches,
he's going to force that reach from the opponent. That's where you latch on to that arm there, isn't it?
Right. So what he's going wrist to wrist. So one of his wrists are connected with his partner's wrist and sticking it to his clavicle. Then he's using his head as a post to drive a frame towards the mat. He's already starting to bridge through the arm as he brings his shin to the back of his partner's head. Now there's a choice here for your partner. That armbar that's on is immediately very tight, but you have a choice. The pressure on the back of your head generally gives the reaction that his partner did give, which is to roll, right? All then Blair had to do was follow him through the rotation and pass both of his legs rather than just one over his head and his torso, and he gets the finish. And there was no way that his partner was getting out. That armbar was deeply extended by the time that both of them had rolled through. And it's just what that tells me, right, is that the time he spent at Next Gen, he has learned some of the fundamental movements that you're going to need in an MMA grappling style. It is, when you're looking at a wrestler with the credentials that Jason Blair has, you can sometimes see a lacking in the willingness to learn the submission elements of the grappling game, right? They're far more comfortable with dominating that mount. They'll post wide and then push back in with their hips and start landing shots again. For Jason Blair to immediately react in the way he did and lock up what was a very technically beautiful armbar, that's deeply impressive to me. Really.
Yeah, I agree. I was very impressed with him. And coming in against an experienced opponent as well. Look at 9-8 for Arthur Lesions, but that's experience there. So Jason Blair, fair play to him. Yeah, great win. Aidan Lee kicked off the main card, Harry, with a rear naked choke finish. All finishes on the main card. Only one decision throughout the night as well. 11 finishes out of 12. Serious card. The Toon Army got a real treat on Saturday night. But Aidan Lee, talk to me about that finish as well. A really good rear naked choke, a solid performance as well. And he'll be happy to get the job done after, coming off the back of 2 defeats as well. It was a big win for him.
Yeah, Aidan Lee was always somebody that seemed like a massive prospect that just didn't quite fulfill his potential. He bounced around promotions. Maybe not the best styles that he was matched against, etc. But to me, this fight was whoever got the better of the first couple of grappling exchanges was going to win the fight. It was relatively cagey out in the open. I think both of them respected each other a lot, and fair play, because it was relatively obvious as to why. One of Aidan Lee's best positions is when he takes somebody's back, and that was on show in this one. I thought that as soon as he managed to get the takedown, his partner rushed his ability to start to get back to his feet just a touch. And maybe that's a little bit of inexperience on his part, but Aiden then got chest to back connection, and then it was just done. He just followed the back, eventually got both hooks in and sunk in a choke really, really, really cleanly. He switched from one side to the other, from underhook to overhook side, moved his head from one side to the other, and just kept oscillating choke dilemmas until eventually he managed to get underneath the chin. And then, yeah, slowly started to sink it all together. And that's experience. Like, that's experience, that's comfortability in the position. And yeah, and really, really, one time of asking as well. That's the impressive thing. He takes you back once and it's done.
Yeah,
That's
100%. Yeah,
brilliant.
100%. I'd seen Aiden in, and obviously he's been around for quite some time. He was in there with Andreas Binder in his last fight in levels. So, a close fight there until Andreas got the finish. And, or was it a finish? Maybe it was a decision. It was a finish, I believe. Yeah, it was a knockout in round 4. But yeah, good bounce back there for Aiden Lee, back into the win column. And yeah, it'll be exciting to see another lightweight there as well. I mean, you said you want you wanted a veteran or wanted an experienced opponent for Leon Hill. It might be an option there for him to see how he gets on. Quick run through of the prelims here, Harry. We'll stop at Jordan O'Neill and talk about him. Let's do it right now. Fuck it. Look at. I love seeing an O'Neill winning inside of a cage, number one. Great name. Great performance. Moved to 3-0 with a body kick knockout over Theodoros Sirtis. Not really a competitive fight, if we're being honest, but that's not Jordan's fault. Went out there, showed his takedown defense, an excellent shot placement on the kick to get Sirtis out of there. Didn't get to see him showcase his excellent boxing, which I've seen, at amateur level and also in his early professional debut. I think we only got to see a smidgen of what Jordan O'Neill is capable of here. But look, as you go in there for Cage Warriors debut, it was a big fight for him. He did excellently well, given the circumstances.
Absolutely. Like, to fold a man like that so early in a fight shows you just how cleanly that man can find that floating rib and just beneath it. I think my only criticism, and it's a criticism that I will give because of the ceiling of somebody like Jordan O'Neill, is that the reason Sirtis was able to pick up that single leg is because he stands just a little bit tall. And I think that's because he's so comfortable in the boxing range.
Yeah,
he
loves some great boxing.
Knows that he can move his head. He knows that he can slip. He knows that he can find the center line of his opponents really, really easily. I think against better wrestlers, it's going to be a problem unless he's able to just slowly arch that spine a little bit and duck his level, or find an ability to be able to manipulate that range in other ways. But man, what can we say? Like, Sirtis came in, didn't like the striking range, immediately shot, failed the shot, and then got finished. Like, what else can we say? Like, it's almost a flawless performance from O'Neill. Like, really, really, really clean. I think we need to give him a step up quickly.
Oh, big time. I agree 100%. Like, I feel he's going to be a major player in this 185-pound division in Cage Warriors. Like, seeing him through the amateur ranks, won amateur titles at heavyweight, light heavyweight, fought this fight at middleweight. He's a big hit middleweight as well. And yeah, I'm excited. I hope we get to see some stern tests. Hopefully we get to see him turn around relatively quickly. I know he was a kind of somewhat of a last minute replacement here, has had such a frustrating run of it. They tried to get him matched up on a couple of the Cage Warriors cards and didn't go his way. But look, very impressive from Jordan O'Neill, and look forward to seeing him in there again. I'll take you through a couple of results here, Harry. Jack Humphreys took out João dos Santos by a rear naked choke in round 1. Big Mike Chamu took out Joe
185.
185 as well. That could be one for Jordan as well, wouldn't it? Yeah. Would you like that? Is that what you're playing?
It is. I think, just if I could just stop you very quickly, the reason why I like that fight is Chamu is a name that people know. They like him. He's got massive power, but he never takes his feet with him. And for somebody of the striking precision of Jordan O'Neill, that is a fight that people will look at and say, oh, Jordan O'Neill's going to be in some trouble because this fella hits hard, and Jordan O'Neill will absolutely truck that fella.
Yeah, Jordan O'Neill hits like a motherfucker as well, to tell you the truth. So it's it's a good test. It would line up. It would line up quite well. So I definitely do agree with you on that. Joe Fields beat Tom Wright round 1 rear naked choke. Charles Joyner picked up a lovely knee that was a nice knee to the body too, to get that finish as well over Albert Serpetti. And Jackson Clark won the only unanimous decision, or the only decision of the night. He won the fight by unanimous decision against Ferdel Bentaib. Out of all of those, anything that you want to hit on? Anything you want to any performances you want to hit on, Harry?
Yeah, I thought Joe Fields looked really, really, really impressive. Really impressive. I've watched him fight live once before at an Almighty Fighting Championship card, and he looked good there. It was his his professional debut when I watched him. And he looks like a well put together fighter, well rounded, quick, hits hard, and could obviously grapple. And yeah, I was impressed by that fight. Really, really impressed by that performance. I think Cage Warriors is a perfect place for him. Something that Ian Dean can start to build him on. It's very difficult to know his level or his ceiling right now. But he went out and just made absolute mincemeat of his opponent. So yeah, fair play to him. I enjoyed that performance.
Yeah, indeed. And look, at all in all, I mean, you can't be complaining when you get 11 finishes out of 12 fights.
Unbelievable.
All action, yeah, all action. Some great fights as well, and all in all, another successful night for Cage Warriors in Newcastle. Like I said at the start, the severe spotlight shone on Harry Hardwick this week. Check that out on SevereMMA.com, and congratulations to him on becoming the Cage Warriors Featherweight Championships. Cage Warriors Featherweight Champion. That's what I was trying to say, and all credit to Leon Hill and Jordan O'Neill picking up wins for the Irish as well. That wraps us up for the balance breakdown this week. We'll be back in a couple of days to break down that UFC 302 card. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Leave us an old comment if you want to. Help the old algorithm. Until then, at BJJ_Harry Powell, at O'Neill MMA. We'll talk to you the next time.